This is part 4 of lecture 12. So again, I just wanted to reiterate the fact that we're going to use the letters MS, which stands for mean squares, but we're going to use that to represent variance in this chapter. So anytime you see MS, just remember that that is a measure of variance. And also remember the fact that we are splitting our variance in our study up into several different types of variance. So specifically, the main types of variance we're going to be looking at is going to be the between group variance and the within group variance. So just remember that MS is standing for variance. And so if you remember from way back in chapter 4, we learned about how to calculate variance. So recall from chapter 4 that when we learned about how to calculate specifically sample variance, and again the symbol for sample variance was that S squared. So when we were calculating sample variance, the way we did that is we took the sum of squares and divided it by the degrees of freedom. So again, in this chapter, in chapter 12, we're actually separating out our variance from the different sources. So whatever, wherever the variance is coming from, we're separating the differences in people's scores into two different components. So specifically, we're going to be looking at that between group variance. So we'll have between MS, and then we'll also separate it into within group variance. So we'll have a within group MS as well. So again, every time you see the letters MS, that is just a fancy way of saying the variance. So we would have between group variance and then the within group variance. And so one of the main goals of this chapter is to separate the different variance, the different sources of variance, to identify what differences exist between our groups versus the differences that are existing within each of our groups. So when we're looking at the between group sum of squares in variance, what that is looking at is again the variability between the different levels or groups. And what they're being compared to is the actual overall mean for every single person in the study. So for example, between group variance and sum of squares is measured by comparing how the average level of aggression in the cold room compares to the average level of aggression in the entire study. So it looks at how each of those different rooms compare to each other is essentially what's being measured there in the between group sum of squares and the between group variance. And again, the within group sum of squares and within group variance, what that is going to be measuring is it's going to be looking at the variability of your people within each of your groups compared to the rest of the people in that group. So again, this is our source of error, or how much differences we should just expect between people just in general in our study. So the process of doing our calculations for ANOVA are going to be involving calculating separate values for the between group sum of squares and between group variance, and then we'll also have a separate values of the within group sum of squares and within group variance. We're going to use those calculations to help us identify the value for the F ratio. So in order to do that, let's go through an actual example of how to do a hypothesis test using an ANOVA. So here is our example. In this example, we have a researcher who wants to know if there are differences in weight gain after being assigned to one of the following diets. So after consuming a pizza-only diet versus a beer-only diet versus a control diet, so just the normal diet. This might be especially relevant to us right now as we're in quarantine from the coronavirus. Hopefully none of you are only existing on a beer diet, but potentially a pizza diet might be something that is in your current situation. So let's see how these different types of diets compare to each other. So the research question is there any weight gain difference between a 1 week exclusive diet of either pizza or a 1 week exclusive diet of only beer. Doesn't sound very healthy, but who knows. Or a 1 week just normal diet, whatever you would normally eat. I'm just going to see how much weight gain you have after a week. So, in this example, we have participants who are randomly assigned to one of those 3 diet conditions. So again, our 3 different diet conditions were pizza-only diet, beer-only diet, or the control group. In this example, we collected 3 people in each of these different groups. So, sorry, I meant 4. So we had 4 people in each of these different groups. So we had 4 people in the pizza-only diet, we had 4 people in the beer-only diet, and we had 4 people in the control condition. And for each of those people, we measured their amount of weight gain after 1 week of that diet. So the IV or factor in this study is whatever diet you're in. So remember, a factor is just it could be either an independent variable or a quasi-independent variable. In this situation, it's a true independent variable since the researcher randomly assigned people to one of these conditions. So our independent variable or factor is your diet, and that factor is made up of these 3 different levels. So we had 3 groups that were being compared. So we had the pizza group, the beer group, and the control group. So we got 1 IV, 1 factor with 3 different levels, and we're measuring its impact on that 1 dV. So here's our data. These data are represented in your lecture notes in step 3, so you don't need to write them again. But this is just to show you right now what the data looks like that was collected. So again, we have the measures of how much weight each person gained in each of these 3 different diet conditions. So we will revisit that data in step 3. So for now, let's do step 1, which, as you should recall, step 1 will always involve writing our hypotheses. So with ANOVA, it's no different. We still have our 2 competing hypotheses. One of the major differences you'll notice here is in how our null hypothesis looks compared to our alternative hypothesis. So for our null hypothesis, remember that the null is always stating that there's no difference. So our way of representing that here in our null hypothesis, that H subscript O is the average amount of weight gain under the pizza condition is equal to the average amount of weight gain under the beer condition, which is also equal to the average amount of weight gain in the control condition. Another way to put that is that none of these groups are different. They're all the same. They're all equal. There was the same amount of weight gain across these 3 different conditions. So that's our null hypothesis, is saying that the average is the same across all these groups. So just one thing to point out is remember that we're still hypothesizing about the population. So we collected data from a sample to try and say something about the population from which this sample is coming. So again, we could look at the sample means and just see that, the sample means are different or not, but the hypothesis test is doing something more than that. So not only do we want to see, are these sample means different, but we want to see, are they different enough to say that something is really going on here at that population level. So that's why we're hypothesizing about the population means, just like we have in the previous chapters. So the major thing I want to point out now is the alternative hypothesis and how that looks different. So our alternative hypothesis says at least one of our mu's is different. So notice that that is a different way of wording it versus if you were to use the unequal sign. So if we use the unequal sign, that would mean that every single one of these groups is different. But that is not the only possibility of the null hypothesis being wrong. So there are actually several different ways in which the null hypothesis could be wrong here. So one possibility is that maybe just the pizza diet led to different amounts of weight gain. Another possibility would be maybe just the beer group led to a different amount of weight gain. Another possibility is maybe only the control group was different. Or the last possibility would be that all of these groups were significantly different from each other. So there are lots of different possible ways that the null hypothesis could be wrong. And so whenever we're writing our ANOVA alternative hypothesis, we're always going to state it in the same way, that at least one mu is different. So that alternative hypothesis is going to stay consistent across all ANOVA hypothesis tests. So the other important thing to note is that you'll notice that the number of mu's that you have in your null hypothesis, that should represent every single group that you're comparing. So in this study, we're comparing these three groups to each other. So I'm going to say each of those three groups is equal. Had we had 4 different conditions we were comparing, we would have 4 mu's listed there. So the number of mu's you have in your null hypothesis is going to equal the number of levels that you have in your study. So let's move into step 2 then. So step 2, we still have the same general goal of step 2, which is to identify our critical region. So I already showed you an example of the F ratio and how that distribution looks different from what we were dealing with T. So let's talk through some of the things that we'll need in order to identify our critical value for F. So we use 2 different degrees of freedom to actually look up a critical value in our F distribution. And so let's talk through each of these. There are 3 different types of degrees of freedom. So the first one is called degrees of freedom total. The way we get that is by taking our big N. So remember, we learned about what big N represents earlier, which is the total number of scores in our whole study. So in this example, we had 12 people in our whole study because we had 4 people in each of our 3 conditions. So we had 12 people in our whole study minus 1 gives you that degrees of freedom total, which is 11. So our between treatment degrees of freedom is going to be measured by taking K's, which we learned about in a couple of slides ago, which K represents the number of levels that we're comparing. So in this study, we have 3 different levels of our IV, which was pizza, beer, and control. So we had 3 different levels, so we're going to subtract 1 from it to get the degrees of freedom between is 2. And then finally we have the degrees of freedom within groups, and so that value is going to be calculated by taking our big N and subtracting K from it. So remember that our big N, we had 12 people in this entire study. We're going to subtract our K from that, which is 3. So make sure y'all are using K rather than your degrees of freedom between. So I see that as a common mistake that people make, is they use degrees of freedom between right here. So make sure you're using K in this equation. So you should have 12 is your big N, and then subtract the K from it, which was 3. And that should give you a degrees of freedom within of 9. And so with that, one thing I want to point out is that you should notice that our between plus within degrees of freedom, it equals the total degrees of freedom also. So that's a good way to double check your work to make sure you calculated everything right. Your between plus your within degrees of freedom should also equal the total value. So if it doesn't, then you calculated one of them wrong. So let's look at trying to look up our critical value for F in this F table. So go ahead and go to the F table that's posted on Blackboard. And in the F table, I want you to use the degrees of freedom between is going to be the numerator that you're looking up, and the degrees of freedom within is the denominator. So go ahead and take this time, this break in between videos, to find that critical F table on Blackboard and look up your critical value for F using the degrees of freedom between that we just talked about as your numerator when you're looking up your value in this table, and then the degrees of freedom within as your denominator. And then I'll give you the answer in the next video.